The Arcane Research Society returns to bring esoteric scholarship and practice in 2026 with 2 major events held in Austin, Texas. Register for an annual membership and attend online or in person all of our annual events, including June 13th, our spring workshop, and November 6th through 8th, EnochiaCon, our full esotericism conference. The ARS Spring Workshop features 3 workshops led by Jason Louv, Craig Williams, and Frater RC. Spend a whole day in downtown Austin, Texas, enjoying these hands-on deep dives with experts in their fields. Register today for all live events included with ARS annual membership, Spring Workshop, and EnochiaCon, which features too many amazing presenters to name. Sign up today at arcaneresearchsociety.com. All right, welcome to a Friday stream. I don't usually do this, of course, but I did get a green shirt and a red tie to wear as flashing colors on Friday, so I thought it would be fun to take it for a test drive. That also means I realized I have to get a blue screen for behind me, so forgive me if you can see past me a bit to the spring cleaning going on. But welcome. Yeah, we're going to have fun today. What we're going to do is put your comments on screen. Hell yeah. Yeah, let's go. LFG. Yeah, Frater Jester, man. Good to see you. It was fun chatting with you during the Dr. Ian Edwards replay today, which was really cool to listen to after a couple of years have passed and life has changed and gone on. And yeah, I look forward to having Ian Edwards again very soon. I am going to read his Austin Osmond Spare book, actually, now that Anathema Publishing has more copies, and I can grab one finally and just burn through it, and then we can talk about Spare. So we're going to have fun. We may as well just dive right into it. This is from a channel called Post Apocalypse, and they did, with just this year, within the last 12 months, did an Enochian Angel Magic complete origin and history video, which has gotten, again, like 10,000 views. Obviously, you know, the internet is getting educated sometimes by AI, sometimes by just humans who aren't doing reading a single book. Either way, it's fun to review this stuff. This one looks like a really beautifully done video. It was requested by one of you that I cover this, so here you go. I've gotten a lot of requests, so I'll get through them as I can. It is kind of fun to do it and watch them with you all rather than just sort of skip through them on my own. So without much further ado, let's get into it. Can you hear that? Let me know if you can hear
Beneath the shadow of...
Is that good?
Queen Elizabeth's reign, 2 men dared to seek the voice of the divine. John Dee, the celebrated scholar and advisor, and Edward Kelly, a man of mystery and unearthly claims, claimed to unlock a celestial language, a system of magic they believed was dictated by angels, granting access to divine wisdom and power. Their work promised truths beyond mortal comprehension, but came at a cost.
I think this is all AI, voice research, images, of course, like completely. But as you might know from the first one of these I did, the person did his own research and as a result didn't really get a single fact. It would have been almost better if he had put a bunch of PDFs into AI and let AI give him a script based on actual facts from books on the topic he was writing about. So, yeah.
Faith and ambition intertwined, driving them to the edge of revelation and ruin. Yet the angel magic system they created endures, studied and practiced by modern magicians who find in it both inspiration and awe. Their story is one of forbidden knowledge, the pursuit of power, and the mysteries that still linger in the spaces between history and myth.
Really
Dee and Kelly's legacy is not merely a chapter in the past, but a living reminder of humanity's unyielding hunger for the unknown.
It's almost like someone should make videos like this, but with like good information, eh? Like, you know, that's all it would probably maybe, but that's the thing. I think that there's something, I don't know. Tell me what you think. I think real magical practitioners' channels are suppressed, and this is promoted for a reason. Because a lot of us, when we do videos like this, but with good information, they go nowhere. Oftentimes, honestly, we have to delete them, or our channel stops growing. It's crazy how much that happens. So there's a real person behind it. Produced and directed. Enochian Angel Magic. The Alliance.
The air was heavy that day, thick with the scent of damp earth and ink-stained parchment. A figure sat hunched at his desk, surrounded by books whose spines whispered promises of ancient wisdom. His quill paused mid-scratch, his gaze drifting to the window where a pale light filtered through, illuminating the stillness of the room. The answers he sought were nowhere to be found, not in the calculations that filled his notes, not in the tomes that lined his walls. His hand trembled slightly as he placed the quill down. He was close to the edge of something. He could feel it, but his tools were failing him. The knock at the door was sharp and deliberate, breaking the quiet like a crack of thunder. The man who entered carried himself with an unsettling confidence, his eyes sharp and his smile faint, as though he had already glimpsed the secrets this place held. His presence disrupted the solemn order of the study, introducing a wildness that felt out of place among the disciplined lines of books and charts. He spoke of visions, of voices that spoke through glass, and of worlds unseen by ordinary men. The words carried a weight, as though they hung on a precipice between truth and falsehood. He produced a small object from his belongings, a smooth, dark mirror that shimmered with a faint and otherworldly glow, and laid it on the table between them.
Well, that took a left turn I wasn't expecting. I was about to say something about how that wasn't how Dee met any of his scryers, of course. I thought they were going to say it was a spirit coming in, like the angel at the window, at the west window. But instead, they left turned into producing a mirror. And one thing we definitely know is that Dee didn't ever use a mirror. There's no record of him ever using a mirror. He didn't own that black mirror that's in the British Museum. So that's very weird decision to make there. Yeah, anyway.
Through this, he said, his voice low, the hidden can be revealed. For a moment, there was silence. The figure at the desk stared at the mirror, his mind racing. This stranger's words should have been absurd, but something about them rang true. Or perhaps it was the desperation, the hollow ache of so many years of unanswered questions, that made him believe. A chair was pulled closer, and the mirror was set between them, dark as the void itself. The stranger's hands hovered over it, his breathing steady. Then his voice began to tremble, low and uneven at first, but soon spilling forth in a torrent of cryptic words and phrases. He spoke of beings made of light and fire, of symbols beyond human...
They haven't even said who this person is. Like, obviously it's meant to be Kelly, but like, weird.
...an understanding. The man at the desk listened, his hand flying across the page, recording every word with feverish intensity. When the stranger stopped, he leaned back in his chair, his face pale and drawn, as though the visions had drained something vital from him. The man at the desk lowered his quill. What had just transpired defied explanation, but he knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning. Without a word, they exchanged a look that seemed to seal an unspoken agreement. Together they would press forward into the unknown. Whatever lay ahead, truth or madness, revelation or ruin, they would face it, bound by their shared hunger for what should not be sought. But even as the door closed behind the stranger, the shadows in the study seemed to grow darker, as though the act of gazing into the mirror had invited something else in. The door had closed, leaving behind an uneasy stillness. The mirror sat on the table, its surface dark and unyielding, as though guarding its secrets. To understand why the man...
There's been like zero information conveyed, and we're already like 5 minutes in. Zero information, zero even names. Weird.
At the desk would risk so much. His work, his faith, his very soul. One must first understand who he was and the path that had brought him here. John Dee was a man of contradictions.
I mean, to be fair, Michael Lynch, Kelly's ears were fine. He never had anything done to his ears.
A towering intellect consumed by an unrelenting hunger for the divine.
That's just like stories people made up after he was dead to disparage him.
He had been called the greatest mind of his age, a man who saw the world not as it was but as it could be, a puzzle to solve, an order to decipher. Born in 1527 in Tower Ward, London, to a family of modest means, Dee's brilliance was evident from an early age. His father, Roland Dee, worked as a mercer in the court of King Henry VIII, a connection that likely opened doors for the young John. Showing an insatiable appetite for learning, he attended the prestigious Chelmsford Chantry School before entering St John's College, Cambridge, at the age of 15. Dee's academic prowess was extraordinary. By 1546, he had earned his bachelor's degree and was made a Fellow of Trinity College. During this period, his fascination with mathematics, astronomy, and classical studies grew, as did his reputation for an almost obsessive work ethic. He reportedly studied for 18 hours a day, sleeping just 4 hours and devoting the remainder to prayer and reflection. His hunger for knowledge was matched only by his capacity to absorb it.
And they're showing him here as this really old man, while talking about him being at college, like, he was a young guy, really young. Like, they should be showing him more as this young prodigy, which is what he was. And also his dad and brother, like, they were hauled in and executed under Bloody Mary, and he barely escaped death, barely. The only reason he did escape was because he was a priest. Yeah, that's my. He went to work with the Bloody Baron. He was in prison of the Bloody Baron. Next thing you know, he gets an audience. Normally, it would be there to death. But he impressed the Bloody Baron with his knowledge of theology. The speech he must have given the Bloody Baron and then the next time he appeared was walking into the Bloody Baron's chamber to help the Bloody Baron inquisit a Copernican that he had previously just been in a cell with days earlier. So Dee did a number on the Bloody Baron. He talked his way out of that shit. To be a fly on that wall, like you're about to be inquisited and then executed along with, like your dad and brother. And the next thing you know, you're like helping him, the Inquisitor. His work ethic was definitely true. His work ethic is throughout his whole life. I mean, all the diaries he kept while managing to be a family man, and they never show him as a family man in the movies, which is so stupid. Like, they're like, oh, he's this old sage. He's more like the Da Vinci of England with these kids running around and his wife and the whole thing.
And he quickly gained renown for his mastery of a wide range of subjects. In 1548, Dee travelled to Leuven in the Low Countries to continue his education under the great mathematician Gemma Frisius, who specialised in cartography and the science of navigation. It was here that Dee honed the mathematical skills that would later...
And Mercator, I believe, himself gave him one of his globes, that he made. I believe that was given to him directly by Mercator.
Lay the groundwork for advances in navigation and exploration, including his involvement in helping to prepare England's first attempts at mapping uncharted territories. He also studied under Gerardus Mercator, whose famous map projections influenced Dee's understanding of the world's geometry. By the 1550s, Dee's expertise had drawn him into royal circles. He served as an advisor to Edward VI and later to Mary I, although his interest in astrology and the occult earned him suspicion under Mary's Catholic reign.
Yeah, so that's not true. The version I told you is true. this version's not true. He certainly didn't serve Mary in any direct capacity. Yeah, that's not how that went down. And if they had had any idea that that time he was doing magical stuff, oh my god, I can only imagine how that would have played out.
In 1555, he was briefly imprisoned under charges of sorcery, accused of using magic to harm Mary's rule. While the charges were dismissed, the experience left...
No, it's because he cast a horoscope for Elizabeth, and I believe a horoscope predicting possible regime change vis-a-vis Mary's death. So if you're predicting the current ruler's death, that's a no-no. But there was much more to it, as I already explained.
Dee, acutely aware of the precarious line he walked between revered scholar and feared magician. Under Elizabeth I...
Yeah, there's no, I don't think there was any view of him as a feared magician. If that had been the case, he would have been killed. If people were like, oh, terrified, so afraid of D, he's a magician, they would have been like, yeah, well, why don't we kill him? We'll kill him then. Okay, let's go do that. Yeah, no. He got away with stuff because he was a priest trying to understand God. That's more what got you a pass.
Dee's fortunes improved dramatically. The Queen valued his intellectual brilliance and sought his guidance, particularly in matters of astrology and navigation. It was Dee who selected the date of Elizabeth's coronation based on favourable astrological conditions, an act that secured his position in her court.
Good afternoon,
Elizabeth
Steve.
referred
Good
to
to
him
see you,
affectionately as my philosopher,
I'll see you in Austin,
entrusting him with tasks ranging from advising on matters of exploration to deciphering ancient manuscripts. Dee's ambitions were vast, stretching beyond the confines of any single discipline. He calculated the heavens with a precision that dazzled navigators and kings, his methods laying the foundation for voyages to uncharted lands.
But you know what? Like, they didn't use his maps or his tools. Like, he was paid handsomely to teach them all how to use his maps and how to calculate with the stars. But like, apparently once they got out to sea, they were like, yeah, none of us really understood what he was talking about. And they all got lost and ended up fighting with people in Greenland or something. Fun stories.
He corresponded with luminaries of his time, trading ideas on geometry, optics, and alchemy. His library, located at his home in Mortlake, was the largest in England, containing over 4,000 volumes that whispered of the ancient and the arcane, the forgotten.
It might have been the largest in the world at that point, which I find hard to believe, you know. But 5,000 books is a lot. That's about what I used to have. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was definitely the largest in England, of course, but like probably also the largest. I think it was the largest in Europe, outside of the Vatican, I think.
Wisdom of the ages. Yet even in the face of such accomplishments, there was a restlessness in Dee's soul.
Yeah.
For all his mastery of the material world, he sensed a deeper truth just out of reach, hidden in the spaces between numbers and words. He believed in the great chain of being, the idea that all existence was connected by a divine order from the humblest blade of grass.
And Michael, you'll be in Austin this November. It'd be good to meet you in person, brother. Sorry I can't make Mark Stavish's IHS event. I'm going to prioritize making Mark Stavish's IHS retreat for 2027. I'm definitely going to try and prioritize that and make that work if I can. Yeah, because I'd love to see Mark. I'd love to. He's promised to take me around Scranton and see all the office stuff from the show, which you know, yeah, I'm a geek.
To the celestial spheres, and he believed it was his duty, his destiny, to uncover that order and bring humanity closer to the divine. This belief, noble in its ambition, began to isolate him. To his colleagues, Dee's pursuit of the esoteric was troubling, an eccentricity that placed him at the fringes of respectable scholarship. Still, his position as an advisor to Elizabeth shielded him from the harsher judgment of society. She valued his intellect and his counsel, relying on his astrological readings to guide decisions of state. For a time, this royal favor provided him the freedom to explore whatever realms his mind desired.
Like, so he never had any official position, and this was a really great problem for him, because he had no income, really, not a really good one. And so he was constantly having to borrow money from nobles for different book acquisitions or trips and such. He even had to sell his copy of the Summa Sacra Magica before he even got to read it to get a horses and carriage to get home from where he went to buy it. So, like, can you imagine? Could you imagine, like, that would have been so painful for him. That's crazy. And yeah, so if the queen had given him in a position, that would have been really good. Towards the end of his life, it looked like she was about to, but she still didn't. But yet he kept helping her, and she would show up at Mortlake, but not go inside and just greet him outside and give him some coins.
Desired, but freedom can be a burden for the ambitious. Dee's quest for knowledge drove him to the edges of what could be understood, where the scientific blurred into the mystical and the mystical into the divine. He delved into...
Actually, that's a completely wrong framing. This whole framing here is anachronistic. The idea of where the scientific blurred into the divine. No. The scientific was the divine. Anything that was anything was part of this divine theology, the queen of the sciences, and they were all seen as part of the same study of God. Book of nature was an idea that came along later, but yeah, this is pre-scientific. You know, they didn't have math. They didn't have math yet.
Alchemy, not for gold, but for spiritual transformation.
And they kind of did, but not.
He studied ancient texts of angelology, convinced that the keys to the cosmos lay in understanding the language.
See, they don't even mention any of the texts he studied, like mention Tritemius, Agrippa, Summa Sacra Magica, like the I mean, the list. I really could just go on and on. I could just name manuscripts, but like, what did you do? What did this? Who the guy who made this? He's a real person. I don't get it. I don't get it. But if you get 9,000 views, it's like 1,000 views a month. I've never gotten that many views on anything. Anyway, it's just weird what is successful in the algorithm, because it's not based on people watching it. It's based on people clicking on the thumbnail. So there's no reason that higher quality videos shouldn't get attention. But hey, that means we get to review this stuff and debunk it and praise it, you know, where it's good, and critique it. So we're having fun, right?
Language of the heavens. He performed intricate rituals seeking to commune with forces beyond human comprehension, and yet, despite his fervor, the answers he sought eluded him. His meticulous experiments produced only silence. His calculations, brilliant as they were, could not pierce the veil that separated man from the divine. The very intellect that had made him famous now seemed a cruel mockery, a tool too blunt to grasp the infinite. This was the state of John Dee in the early 1580s, a man revered and yet increasingly alone, a scholar surrounded by books yet haunted by questions they could not answer.
Again, it's like no one's aware that he had, like, you know, a semi-noble courtier, nobleman wife, nursemaids, kids running around. He would do horoscopes for his kids. He would, like, speculate on whether one of his kids might marry the villager boy there based on their horoscopes. Like, he was this, you know, just not as anyone ever portrays him in media. And that's really why I'm going to keep going on about it till eventually we can make our own documentaries and movies that portray him in a more, just even a slightly more accurate light, just slightly, like, again, more a family man Da Vinci type, maybe even with a slight hippie edge, free love quality to him. Maybe, who knows? Depends on, you know, the whole family of love thing that they were familiar with.
He saw himself as a servant of God, chosen to reveal the secrets of creation, but his isolation grew heavier with each failure. It was in this moment of desperation that he turned to the occult, not as an escape, but...
No, he'd been studying the occult a very long time. As you said earlier in your video, you're self-contradicting your own video. You're saying as a young man they were afraid. half fascinated, half afraid of him as a sorcerer. And now you're saying finally in his old age, he turned to the occult. Should we even finish this one?
But as a bridge,
We'll see.
a final attempt to reach what lay beyond. He believed that divine wisdom was not beyond reach, but it required an intermediary, a guide to open the way. He searched for such a guide relentlessly, convinced that his mission was too important to abandon. When Edward Kelly arrived at his doorstep, bearing promises of angelic visions and forbidden knowledge, Dee did not hesitate. He could not afford.
Dee was already scrying with another guy, and then his friends, it seems, heard that he was working with a guy who did not have a good reputation doing this stuff. And so then they brought Kelly to him because they knew Kelly knew his stuff. They're like, okay, they showed up at his door like, hey, this is the guy you need to be working with, not that other dude.
To. He had spent his life looking for the voice of the divine.
So Kelly was introduced to Dee by friends as a reputable and skilled scryer and magician, whereas this other guy, not so much, apparently.
And he was willing to risk everything to hear it. For John Dee, the decision had been made. A leap of faith toward the divine, with a man whose claims promised everything he longed for. But the one offering visions of angels carried a past as opaque as the mirror he gazed into, a life tangled in shadows and half-truths. Edward Kelly claimed to be a seeker of truth, a medium for celestial voices, but others knew him as a man of deceit, a forger, a rogue, a trickster who wore ambition like armor. To some, he was a prophet.
Prove it. Prove it. No evidence of that. No evidence of that. We know what happened later with Walsingham and the blackmailing Kelly and Marlowe. All these guys, they would basically get them on coining, taking bits off coins to rip off people economically, and then they'd be like, hey, now you're going to work for us and tell us whatever you hear or see. And that's how they would gang rush people into being spies for Walsingham.
Prophet, to others a charlatan.
Pressure.
And to those who looked too closely, perhaps he was
Blackmail,
both.
Really.
Born in 1555 in Worcester, England, Edward Kelly's early life is a patchwork of whispers and gaps. His birth name may have been Edward Talbot, a name he occasionally used later in life.
No, Talbot, it was the name he used at first. He was introduced as Talbot, and that was probably a pseudonym to conceal that his real name was Kelly. Wow, even basic facts are wrong. Again, these videos would be better if you just grabbed Peterson, Leach, Yakida. Who else has a good historical one? Just pump those PDFs into a ChatGPT, and you'll get a script for a video like this that at least has actual facts in it instead of made up nonsense.
Fueling speculation that he adopted Kelly as part of a reinvention or to distance himself from past transgressions.
Kelly never spelled his name with the EY. He spelled it just with a Y, the Irish way. But we believe that it was changed and spelled that way by other people in Bohemia under Rudolph when he was knighted to distance him from a potential association with a dirty Irish lineage. That's what I've heard. That might even be in one of the biographies.
Kelly as part of a reinvention or to distance himself from past transgressions. Little is known of his education or upbringing, but accounts suggest that he may have attended grammar school and acquired a working knowledge of Latin, an invaluable skill for anyone dabbling in alchemical manuscripts or ecclesiastical texts. By the time Kelly stepped into historical record, trouble had already marked his life. In 1580, he was sentenced to have his ears cropped, a humiliating punishment typically reserved for forgers and counterfeiters.
Where are you getting this from?
The charge stemmed from his alleged role in forging land deeds, though the details remain hazy. Whatever the truth, the mutilation was both a literal and figurative scar, branding him as a man of dubious reputation. Kelly's fortunes did not...
Yeah, you'd think someone would have mentioned it somewhere if his ears actually had been cropped. Like, but no one ever mentioned it in history at all. I mean, after he's dead, when they made it up, they mention it, but not before that.
End with disgrace. Instead, he embarked on a journey that seemed to thrive on the margins of respectability, weaving himself into the shadowy world of alchemy, a realm where failure could be excused as divine mystery and success could rewrite fortunes. He claimed to have stumbled upon a mysterious alchemical powder, a red substance that he insisted could transmute base metals into gold. According to one tale, Kelly discovered the powder in a burial site near Glastonbury, alongside a manuscript written in an unknown language. Whether this story was a fabrication...
Yeah, and the most information we have on that story is all gathered together in P.D. Newman's Angels in Vermilion, the Philosopher's Stone from D to DMT. And it's believed that the white powder could have been DMT, but there was two there anyway. I won't get into the details.
Or a masterful embellishment, it secured him an audience among patrons eager for alchemical wonders. Kelly's charm and bold claims soon opened doors in noble courts and alchemical circles. He spoke with confidence of ancient texts, forgotten formulas, and the...
Yeah, none of this is true. None of his alchemy or knowledge opened any doors for him at this time. It was his acquaintance in working with Dee that opened doors for him eventually in Prague. But before that, no.
Secrets of transmutation. His knowledge of alchemical principles, whether genuine or gleaned from his travels and readings, allowed him to pass convincingly among those who sought the Philosopher's Stone. Yet his alchemical pursuits were only one facet of his talents. It was his gift as a scryer that would secure his place in history. Kelly possessed an uncanny ability to gaze into reflective surfaces, crystals, mirrors, polished obsidian, and summon forth visions.
Again, no evidence he ever used an obsidian mirror or that they ever even saw one, as far as I know. Yeah, you think they would mention something like that.
Described angels and spirits with vivid detail, weaving narratives so compelling that even skeptics found themselves captivated. Kelly claimed to see beings that transcended human comprehension, figures radiant with light, their messages profound yet cryptic. Whether these visions were genuine or an elaborate performance remains a matter of debate, but there is no denying the skill with which he delivered them. By the time Kelly crossed paths with John Dee in 1582, his life was already a delicate balancing act of ambition and desperation. His claims had brought him moments of success, but no lasting security.
Again, none of this is true, and there's nothing known about him before he shows up, really, at Dee's door. So this is just fabricated information, just completely pulled out of the person's butt.
Chemical powder, the tales of angelic visions, the whispers of secret knowledge, they had earned him both admirers and enemies. Dee, with his towering intellect and unshakable faith in the divine, must have seemed to Kelly like both an opportunity and a challenge. Here was a man who sought the voice of God itself, a man willing to believe in visions and miracles.
Kelly needed a job, and then he needed a wife. And Dee paid him like, $50,000 a year by modern standards, more or less. Well, not today's standards, pre-lockdown standards.
If only they could be delivered with enough conviction. But what did Kelly truly believe? Was he a true seeker? Someone who glimpsed the infinite and sought to share it? Or was he merely an opportunist, spinning tales to secure his place in Dee's orbit? Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in the space between. Kelly's accounts of Angelic...
The truth doesn't lie in the space in between. The truth lies over the course of his biography. Just like many of us, we find our lives change, and the truth changes as we live and grow and mature. So what Kelly was looking for when he first met Dee wasn't what he was looking for after he was married and had been working with Dee for a while and was in Prague And like when he was in Poland, he got really into Roman Catholicism and started investigating stuff, I think with early Jesuits, maybe. I can't remember the person's name. And then in Prague, he started going really into Roman Catholicism and getting very, very into it. And that's, yeah, they were both just really devout guys. I mean, it's hard for us to imagine the world back then, but yeah, these were very devout people.
Beings and celestial languages were delivered with a fervor that suggests belief, but there was always a flicker of something else beneath the surface.
You want to know how we know that they believed what they were doing? Because they made decisions based on it that you wouldn't make if you had even the slightest inkling that what you were experiencing might be false, right? You just, yeah, you know, you wouldn't, if there was any doubt that you couldn't fly, you probably wouldn't jump off a roof. They jumped off lots of roofs.
Calculation,
figuratively.
A wariness that hinted at deeper motives. Kelly's life before Dee was one of uncertainty and reinvention, a man constantly reshaping himself to fit the moment. Whether driven by faith, ambition, or the simple need to survive, he brought with him a gift that would transform both their lives. He offered Dee a glimpse into the unknown, a bridge to the divine, but that bridge was built on unstable ground. For Kelly, the work ahead would not only define his legacy, but also test the limits of his faith and his willingness to deceive. The sessions began with ritual precision.
I have to say, this is honestly way worse than I thought it would be. I was actually expecting to enjoy this, and wow, it's really vapid and fabricated. It's, I mean, just make up a story about two magicians. Don't like just, but this is the new thing, right? We're effacing all of history, wiping it out. Cleopatra was black, Anne Boleyn was black, everyone was black, Dee and Kelly were black. And that's like, yeah, we know why they're doing that. And, you know, doesn't really bother me. Why not let the filmmakers or the Bridgerton, you know, sure, go have fun with it. It's fine. But we're getting to the point where they're now teaching these alternative cinema histories in school. Teachers are getting fooled by Hollywood and thinking that stuff's real. So that's completely foobar. Furchtbar. Es ist furchtbar.
Guided by John Dee's belief that sacred order was the key to unlocking divine communication. Every detail of the process was carefully considered, from the arrangement of the room to the exact words of the invocations. Dee prepared the space by consecrating it with prayers and alchemical formulas, drawing upon both Christian liturgy and mystical traditions to purify the air. At the center of the table sat the scrying device itself.
In particular, the 7 penitential psalms, as well as his own written prayer for wisdom, the heptarchial oration, and then later the prayer of Enoch.
Sometimes an obsidian mirror polished to a glass-like sheen, and other times a crystal ball, both objects carefully chosen to act as conduits for the visions. The rituals often began with Dee reciting a series of invocations and prayers. These were not random utterances, but carefully composed entreaties, blending the language of scripture with elements of Kabbalistic mysticism. He invoked the name of God and the hierarchies of angels, calling upon the archangels and divine powers to open a channel between their world and the celestial spheres. These invocations were paired with the placement of specific tools in precise configurations, each symbol imbued.
And what a missed opportunity when you're doing all this AI photo video work to take the actual tools, which we, you know, are posted in many nuanced varieties online, and turn them into beautiful image versions. Like, you know, the table was this white cube when it was all set up, with just a crystal on top of the wax covered in a white cloth and red cloth on the ground, but the completely covered in white is what the table looks like. You'll all see it at EnochiaCon this November, where we will have a full setup table with all the bells and whistles. not only is Scott Michael Stenwick doing an Enochian hands-on workshop, we got Ash and Chasan doing a scrying and conjuration workshop of some sort. Again, they can do whatever they want. There's limited to 20 people per each of these. There's still seats in all of them, which is crazy because the event's over half full. And Dr. Terry Burns is going to do a workshop as well. So like, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be intense. It's going to be so good. Okay, actually, you know what? Let's play the trailer again while I go get some more water. Because yeah, EnochiaCon, the June workshop, June 13th, with me and Jason Louv and Craig Williams. It's going to be kick-ass. So join the Arcane Research Society and get access to all of that, everything we do this year. It's going to be awesome.
The Arcane Research Society returns to bring esoteric scholarship and practice in 2026 with 2 major events held in Austin, Texas. Register for an annual membership and attend online or in person all of our annual events, including June 13th, our spring workshop, and November 6th through 8th, EnochiaCon, our full esotericism conference. The ARS Spring Workshop features 3 workshops led by Jason Louv, Craig Williams, and Frater RC. Spend a whole day in downtown Austin, Texas, enjoying these hands-on deep dives with experts in their fields. Register today for all live events included with ARS annual membership, Spring Workshop, and EnochiaCon, which features too many amazing presenters to name. Sign up today at arcaneresearchsociety.com.
All right, we're back.
With layers of spiritual meaning. Edward Kelly, as the scryer, would take his position before the scrying device, his body and mind prepared for the task. The process required intense focus, as Kelly would gaze deeply into the mirror or crystal, his mind slipping into a state that hovered between meditation and trance. He described the experience as being both physical and spiritual, a sensation of otherworldly force.
They're saying he described the experience. Where? What did he say? Quote him.
Forces pressing upon him, the visions arriving not as dreams but as vivid realities. The angels Kelly claimed to see were described in extraordinary detail. They were luminous beings, sometimes appearing as warriors clad in light, other times as abstract forms too vast or complex to fit human comprehension. They communicated in a language that was unfamiliar to Kelly, but unmistakably structured. What Dee would later call the angelic.
I mean, it's so funny that they're just making all this stuff up when we have the actual diaries, and you could be quoting from the diaries and going bit by bit through those first operations and describing the exact results of those angelic actions, as Dee called them. Like we literally have the notes from their sessions. It's what makes Enochian magic so unique and also powerful to practice, because you get to enter into that system in a way you can't enter into any other system of magic or grimoire practice. You get to see how it was made, and then you get to work within that more flexible structure, because you have and see the components of how it came together and what worked, what didn't, where there was issues, where there were sticking points, where the angels were like, hey, we told you to do this and you didn't do it. That's really helpful. We have that for no other grimoire.
Or Enochian language. This language was composed of characters and sounds that bore no resemblance to any known human tongue, a fact that further convinced Dee of its divine origin. Dee recorded the sessions in painstaking detail, transcribing Kelly's words as he described the visions and dictated the angelic messages. These records, known as the spiritual diaries, often included long streams of angelic text accompanied by translations and interpretations provided by the angels themselves. The messages ranged from cryptic prophecies to detailed instructions on how to construct magical tools and perform further rituals. The angels were not mere passive informants. They were said to offer specific commands, sometimes issuing stern rebukes if the rituals were not carried out to their satisfaction. Kelly's tone would change as he conveyed these messages, his voice taking on a strange authority that Dee interpreted as a sign of true possession by higher powers. Each session followed a rhythm: preparation, invocation, scrying, transcription, and reflection. Yet, for all the rigor Dee imposed on the process, the results were unpredictable. Some sessions yielded pages of intricate revelations. Others were marked by silence or confusion, as though the connection to the angels had been severed. Dee, ever the scientist, sought patterns in these fluctuations, speculating that human error, celestial alignments, or even the angels' own will could influence the outcomes. Through these sessions, they built the foundations of what Dee believed was a divine magical system. Yet the process was fraught with challenges. Kelly often grew impatient with the repetitive nature of the rituals, his frustration flaring when the visions were slow to come. Dee, in turn, struggled to reconcile Kelly's volatile temperament with his own need for meticulous control. Despite their differences, the work pressed forward, driven by their shared ambition to unlock the secrets of the universe.
See, that's like, no, Kelly wanted to stop all the time. He really didn't want to keep going with this work. The idea that he was, taking Dee for a ride, it was exhausting on him. He was slightly crippled, it seems. Walked with a cane, hunched over, physically much younger than Dee, half his age, I think. But, and Annie hated his wife. Kelly hated the wife he had to marry. They fought all the time. So, yeah.
Even in those early days, the balance between them was fragile, the partnership already showing cracks that would widen with time. The rituals, the visions, the tools...
Not really.
They were all pieces of a puzzle whose image neither man could yet fully see. What they did see, however, was enough to compel them onward, deeper into the mysteries of angelic magic. The visions began with a light, Kelly said, an intense brilliance that seemed to radiate from the very surface of the crystal. From this light emerged forms that defied earthly description, beings whose appearance shifted as though their true nature could not be contained within mortal understanding. At times they appeared as winged figures clothed in radiant fire, their faces both beautiful and terrifying. Other times they were more abstract, patterns of light and energy that pulsed with meaning, forms that seemed to dissolve and reform with every heartbeat. Kelly described their voices as both overwhelming and precise, a sound that bypassed the ears and resonated within the mind itself. Their words carried an undeniable authority, spoken in a language that was wholly unfamiliar yet felt ancient, as if it had existed since the beginning of time.
Again, this is all fabricated. None of this is true.
This language, which would come to be known as Enochian, was at the heart of their revelations. The Enochian language was not mere gibberish or symbolic gestures. It was a fully formed system of communication.
Fighting the good fight.
Over the course of their sessions, the angels dictated an alphabet of 21 unique characters, along with its grammar and syntax. Each letter carried both a phonetic sound and a mystical...
They don't even show the actual Enochian letters.
...significance, its shape imbued with meaning. The angels insisted that this was the original language of creation, the very words spoken by God to bring the universe into existence. For Dee, this was proof of its divine origin, a pure language untainted by human imperfection, a key to unlocking the secrets of the cosmos. The angels did not merely dictate letters or abstract concepts, they conveyed specific instructions for constructing magical tools and charts that Dee believed were essential to accessing higher realms. The most intricate of these was the Table of Enoch, a large grid composed of rows and columns of Enochian letters, each placement determined by angelic command. These grids, they claimed, held the structure of the universe itself, a map of celestial hierarchies and divine power. Kelly often described the angels as impatient, their words coming in bursts that he struggled to keep up with. They chided the pair when their rituals were imperfect or when their understanding faltered. Some messages were delivered with urgency, as if the angels were racing against time to impart their wisdom before some unseen barrier closed again. Others were cryptic, requiring Dee to spend hours or days parsing their meaning. Not all communications were straightforward. The angels introduced a variety of celestial beings, each with its own role in the divine.
Like, no mention of the archangels they were talking to archangels, who then showed them how to access these other spirits and angels that were sort of part of the archangels, but more grounded in Malkuth, in the kingdom. And Enochian spirits are very, as even Nick Farrell well, not even, but agreed, because it's not about agreeing. It's just like, yeah, we know they're close to the earth. The Aethyrs are part of the earth. They're parts of the earth. They go up to Yesod. They go up to the moon, not to Kether, like Crowley altered it to do. Worked for Crowley. That's cool. But yeah.
Hierarchy. Some were messengers, bringing revelations from higher powers. Others were guardians, protecting the secrets they conveyed. Kelly recounted visions of angelic councils, gatherings of radiant beings who debated and issued decrees. He described their names, strange and unpronounceable by human tongues, and their ranks within the celestial order. For Dee, these revelations were not merely spiritual, they were a mandate. He believed the angels were offering humanity a chance to ascend, to reclaim a unity with the divine that had been fractured by the fall. Through the Enochian language and the magical system it conveyed, Dee saw the potential for humanity to bridge the gap between the material and the celestial, to restore the harmony of creation. But these communications also carried warnings. The angels spoke of challenges to come, of trials that would test Dee and Kelly's faith and resolve. They hinted at dangers lurking within the unseen realms, forces that sought to corrupt or deceive. The visions left Kelly visibly shaken.
Not really. I mean, it was more just straight up apocalypticism. The angel, like, the end is nigh. You got to get the rulers of the earth to do what we say and follow your lead and be good and faithful. Otherwise, all will be doomed.
And Dee, though steadfast in his belief, began to realize the weight of the task before them. The process of receiving these revelations became both a source of awe and a trial of endurance. Kelly's sessions left him drained, his descriptions growing darker and more fragmented as the weeks turned into months. For Dee, the task of transcribing and interpreting the angelic messages consumed his every waking moment. The boundaries between his earthly duties and his divine mission blurred, and the cost of their work began to take its toll. Still, the revelations continued, each session adding new layers to the intricate system the angels were revealing. To Dee, this was nothing less than the reconstruction of Eden itself, a return to the purity of divine language and order. But the strain on their partnership and the forces they were now entangled with hinted that their journey into the divine might not end with the clarity they sought. Instead, it was leading them deeper into an unfolding mystery, one that offered glimpses of the infinite but demanded ever greater sacrifices. The angelic revelations.
It's all vagaries and nonsense. Like, what sacrifices? Mention what? Like, say something. Say words that mean something. This vagueness is God, I hope this is not where we're going with the internet and the world and YouTube. I hope not.
Fragmented and cryptic as they were.
I guess it's not if, like, we're going to be out here, debunking stuff and giving it a critical gloss. But it is sad to see success and wealth dished out to these grifting channels and grifting video makers. And I say grifting because this is actually what grifting is. It's lying and saying things that aren't true for attention and money.
And to coalesce into something more. Piece by piece, session by session.
I might be wrong sometimes, but I believe what I'm saying. and I do the best I can to research what I know. That's not the same thing as just being like blah blah blah, and then Superman came and showed Kelly how to use the crystal.
Session, Dee and Kelly constructed a system unlike anything that had existed before, a bridge between mortal and divine, a magical framework dictated, they believed, by celestial beings themselves. This was no mere collection of symbols or incantations. It was a vast and intricate structure that sought to unify the spiritual and the material. At the center of this system lay the Tables of Enoch, vast grids composed of rows and columns of Enochian letters. Each letter, dictated by the angels, was said to hold divine significance. The tables were not arbitrary. Their arrangement followed patterns that Dee believed corresponded to the celestial hierarchy and the structure.
See, the tables are fascinating, just not in any of the way this video is telling us. We need to get, we know who to talk to about how fascinating these things are. We know who to talk to, and a lot of them will be at EnochiaCon and our spring workshop, and you can attend all that online or in person this summer.
Structure of the cosmos itself. 4 large tables, one for each element, air, water, earth, and fire, formed the foundation, each guarded by specific angelic beings. Within these grids lay the names of angels, the keys to their power, and the map.
Yeah, so they're taking Golden Dawn varietal Enochian and putting it back in the past. Is the Golden Dawn that said that made the 4 divided tablets of the Great Table elemental. He saw them as alchemical, and in the Great Table originally, the 4 elements existed in every subquarter. Hey, Taoist Magic, you're back. Yeah, we're actually live now. Earlier wasn't live. People often think premieres are live, but like I was live chatting with you. So I guess that's live. I sat through it all with you and enjoyed it. And it's good to see you back here. This is the fun times. I thought this video would be actually more informative because it looked so good. I thought maybe they pumped in actually good PDFs and pumped out a script with, that would be actually sort of interesting. But no, instead we get more chicanery.
To their realms. To use these tables, the angels provided detailed instructions for rituals and invocations. The Holy Table, inscribed with sacred symbols and placed at the heart of their workspace, served as the physical anchor for these rituals. The Sigillum de Ameth.
The Sigillum de Ameth. It's a Hebrew word, means truth. It's Emet. Aleph Mem Tav. This is not what it looked like. Oh well. Missed opportunity.
Wax discs inscribed with complex geometric designs were placed beneath the legs of the table. These discs were believed to be conduits of divine energy, connecting the earthly plane to the celestial spheres. One larger sigillum, intricately carved and central to their rituals, was placed beneath the scrying crystal or mirror, amplifying the connection between Kelly and the angelic realm. The layman, another key tool.
But in between the wax sigillum de Emet, Dei, and it's not Dei as in of, it's Dei, right, as in God, the sigil of God's truth, or the true God. Latin can do either. And between that are 2 cloths. Well, at least one cloth. There's the white cloth between the SDA and the scrying showstone, the crystal.
Was a small inscribed tablet worn by Kelly during the sessions. It was said to enhance his ability to receive and transmit angelic messages, ensuring the purity of the communication. Dee meticulously recorded every instruction given by the angels for creating these objects, treating their words as sacred mandates.
I mean, it's just Dee's version of the sigillum from the Liber Iuratus, that grimoire. It's over there. Yeah, and the tables are just a version like these. They don't mention how these tables in this, that there's a really interesting history that could be gone over here.
But the system was not purely physical. The Enochian language itself was woven into every aspect of the magic. The angels provided not only an alphabet, but also a grammar, syntax, and pronunciation rules. Dee labored tirelessly to organize and codify the language, convinced that it held the key to understanding the divine order. He believed that speaking the Enochian words aloud, in the precise manner dictated by the angels, could invoke their power and presence. Dee's dedication to this work grew obsessive. He spent countless hours poring over his notes, refining his diagrams, and attempting to decipher the deeper meanings of the revelations.
Yes, Taoist magic, a lot of tables, a lot of numbers. And they're all different. They're not all part of the one thing, right? Liber Loga is completely different from other sets of tables and numbers. And honestly, for me, that's not my main interest in the Enochian system. But yeah, I mean, it's a tripartite system, and it's quite vast. And you don't have enough time to explore, let alone master all of it in your lifetime, really. Maybe I could have if I had just stuck with only Enochian magic since I was 13 and never done anything else. I probably could have done it all, but you can't do it all. And that's where you got to remember why you're doing this. Why are we doing magic, right? Why do we engage in learning a system of magic? Why do we spend our lives practicing something so obtuse, often absurd, and usually very difficult to practice? Again, none of these devotions are easy. I mean, even just most people just check out when you mention 3 days of fasting or avoiding coitus, right? Most people just can't keep their hands off themselves and like, I'm out. Michael Lynch, Ben Rao is a great magician. Was a great magician. As Ben Rowe once suggested to me when we were talking about the Schuler's books, I was wondering what he thought about them. He suggested that I move them, like this video, to my library's humor area. Oh my God, I love that so much. That's amazing. Yeah, I never got to know Ben Rao. I have generally avoided anyone with slight thelemic connection whatsoever until I met a few that until I met Lon, and a few other Thelemites that I liked, like Scott Stanwyck. Then I warmed up to Thelema. Yeah. You feel the same way. Yeah. Of the you're also a frater of the RC. Well, yeah. Okay. And to be clear, my motto doesn't stand for Rose Cross. I'm frater RC, as in ruptus catene, broken of chains. And that's an old motto that's long been defunct for me, but it encapsulates the 90s and my outer order experience in the Golden Dawn, which I completed at Easter 1999. You got burnt out and went to East. Burned out and went to the East. Yeah, you go to the East. Journey to the East. My most popular video on my YouTube is the Herman Hesse story. I don't know what you see, but I'll try and see it too.
His belief in the system's divine origin was absolute. To him, every letter and symbol was a fragment of God's truth, entrusted to humanity through his and Kelly's work. Yet
they had tons of doubts. Even in the diaries, there's a point where it says in the diaries explicitly, or this could all be just Kelly making shit up to fuck with you. Like, they were very well aware of what we would call today skepticism. They had a very healthy relationship to skepticism. I've said so much about this already. I don't want to go on a tangent. We want to just get through this, and maybe we'll have time to do something else completely different afterward.
The sheer scope of the task often overwhelmed him. The more the angels revealed, the more complex the system became, and the more questions it raised. Kelly, meanwhile, began to show signs of strain. The visions he described during the sessions grew darker, more disjointed.
Man, Kelly wishes he looked like that, eh? That guy, the handsome one there. Kelly wishes he looked like that.
Signs of strain. The visions he described during the sessions grew darker, more disjointed, and at times contradictory. He expressed frustration with the angels' demands, questioning their purpose and intentions. Was this truly divine communication, or were they being led astray by forces they did not fully understand? Dee dismissed such doubts, his faith unwavering, but Kelly's skepticism lingered. There were moments when Kelly's behavior hinted at something deeper, a flicker of guilt, a hesitation that suggested he might not fully believe in the visions he described. Some accounts suggest that Kelly may have embellished or even fabricated certain details, driven by a mixture of fear, ambition, and the desire to maintain his place in Dee's world.
I mean, if that was true, why would Kelly have done so much work to get things right? Like, why create the tabula rachensa? Why create the rachensa? And why not stick with the original table? Like, you don't do that kind of stuff if you don't believe, or if you're skeptical. Like, if you don't believe it, not if you're skeptical. I mean, it's just, such a myopic and limited. I hope that's like, when I'm dead, maybe someone will see this and be like, oh, I guess I shouldn't believe everything that's on the internet.
Whether true
it's
or
Friday,
not,
I'm chilling
the dynamic
out.
between the two men became increasingly fraught. Their shared purpose
I mean, the story of the dissolution of their relationship is so interesting. And, skipping over the whole gangster period when they actually got all the riches they always sort of hoped for. And when Kelly got made, became a made man and had all this money, and they brought all their debtors in to the big castle in Prague, outside of Prague, that Kelly had been given, essentially. And they put all the money, even more than they owed their debtors, on the table. Like, they had the pimp glasses on, and they brought in their debtors, and they're like, check it out. Look at all our swag. Look at our money. Take what we owe you, you filthy animals. Like that. They had a whole moment. They staged it to pay off their debtors once they had it, once they made it rich. It was Kelly that got rich, of course, not Dee, and that led to other things. What are you saying? What's people saying? Taoist Magic says the U.S. government thinks that it was exaggeration, but I think they had extra material shell shock upon learning of the preternatural intelligence there. I don't know who's there, where thinks what was an exaggeration. What does the U.S. government think it was an exaggeration? I don't know. Extra material shell shock. Here, I don't actually know what you're saying. That it was okay. Maybe you can clarify.
clouded by unspoken tensions. Still, the system grew. By the late 1580s, Dee and Kelly had created a framework of rituals, symbols, and language that was unlike anything in the Western mystical tradition. It was both a magical tool and a theological statement, a system that claimed to reveal the very mechanics of creation and the pathway to divine wisdom. But with each new revelation, the cost of their work became more apparent. Dee's obsession consumed him, pulling him further from his earthly responsibilities and isolating him from the world outside his study. Kelly burdened.
None of that's true, even slightly. I mean, they had kids and families and dinners and dances and social lives and court Imagine being like, and the tech giants of our age, even men like Elon Musk, never left their room and just stayed there working day and night and never had fun at all. It's like, no, they're running around banging starlets. Like, people have lives. People have complicated, messy, fucked up lives. And that's what these guys had. They weren't like hermits in a cave.
By the weight of his role, grew restless and volatile, his doubts festering beneath the surface. Together they had created something extraordinary, But the cracks in their partnership were growing wider, threatening to undermine the very foundation of their work. What they had built was immense, intricate, and powerful, but its true nature remained uncertain. Was it a divine gift, a cosmic puzzle waiting to be solved, or the product of two brilliant yet fallible minds caught in their own illusions? That question would linger even as the next chapter of their story unfolded. The system they had built was vast, its complexity rivaled only by the strain it placed upon its creators. For years, Dee and Kelly had shared the weight of their divine work, but ambition and belief had bound them with fragile threads that now began to fray. The cracks in their partnership were not sudden but gradual, growing deeper with each session. Kelly's frustrations, once fleeting, became more frequent, his demeanor shifting from reluctant cooperation to open hostility. The visions that had once flowed with startling clarity now came haltingly, if at all. Kelly spoke of the toll the scrying took on him, the physical and mental exhaustion that left him hollow. He questioned the demands of the angels, their cryptic messages, and their ceaseless requirements for more rituals, more tools, more sacrifice. To Dee, these doubts were heresy, a betrayal of the sacred mission they had been entrusted with. Dee's faith remained steadfast, but it had become a kind of blindness. He was consumed by the revelations, his days filled with transcription, his nights spent poring over the angelic messages in search of hidden meanings. The outside world, with its politics, its wars, and its demands, had all but disappeared. Even his family, who had travelled with him throughout Europe during this period, found themselves relegated to the edges of his consciousness. Kelly saw this and resented it. The singular devotion Dee had for the angels, a devotion that left little room for human connection. The breaking point came in the spring of 1587.
Das ist nicht wahr. Nicht wahr. They had lots of human connection. That's how life is. Or was. We're getting away from that now, that's for sure. But, yeah. Oh, by the way, I made a new meme, like a video meme about Solomonic magic. If you guys want to see it, let me know.
In the city of Trebona. It was there, amid the quiet stillness of rural Bohemia, that the angels delivered a message unlike any they had received before. Kelly, his voice faltering as he relayed their words, claimed the angels had instructed the two men to share everything, including their wives. This revelation, stunning in its audacity, sent shockwaves through their already fragile bond.
I'm sorry, this is just bothering me. What do you mean? Epstein considered education himself a hermit. Do you mean he considered education to be for hermits, or that he considered himself a hermit because of education? I don't know. But it bugs me because I'm pedantic and need to know. I'm working with Lon's tarot deck. Shout out to Lon. We love Lon. Send you a link to what? Solomonic magic is having a surge. Well, Gal Sofer came out with a book called Solomonic Magic. And the whole thesis of the book is that Solomonic magic, well, I'll let him tell you. I'll let Gal Sofer, in his own words, tell you what the thesis of his book from Brill publication is. You ready? I hope. Okay. If you can, before you go, drop me a super chat, become a channel member, gift some memberships away. Get ready for this. I'm proud of this. This is a fun meme. I made it first thing this morning. I woke up in my head. I was like, oh, I got to do this. I know who will love this. The target of the meme will love it. Gal Sofer already loves these memes I'm making because he's a great guy. He's got a good sense of humor. I think you have to live in that part of the world. Here you go. Wait. Meme coming your way in 3, 2, 1. This is what Gal Sofer's thesis is in his Brill publication of Solomonic Magic. He synopsizes it very clearly, and then I show you
the aftermath. It's tragic, tragic, tragic aftermath.
Solomonic magic is not a thing.
Shit.
Like and subscribe. Well, there you
Dee, ever obedient to the angelic will, hesitated but ultimately complied. He saw the command as a test of faith, an opportunity to demonstrate his absolute trust in the divine plan. But Kelly's reaction was different. Whether he saw the demand as a divine truth or a cruel manipulation, it struck a nerve.
love you,
This
Aaron
was no
Leach.
longer about celestial revelations or cosmic order. It was a
It's 'cause
violation.
After I did the initial meme of Gal Silver saying Solomonic magic is not a thing, Aaron DM'd me, and he's like, hey, so I guess I can retire now since my job doesn't exist. So I was like, oh, I know the meme to make for you.
A tearing apart of boundaries that should never have been crossed. The act was carried out, but the cost was far greater than either man had anticipated. The wife-swapping incident left scars that could not heal. Kelly.
So a lot of people portray the wife swapping thing as this one major event. No, it went on for a while. There was like lots of that back and forth, and like Dr. Sledge has pointed out, it could have something to do with the influence of them with the family of love, which I think is sort of a early, Tudor period, 500-year-old kind of free love group. I don't know much about it. Sledge would be the one to ask about that, and I think even he's got limited knowledge on it. Anyway, there's a lot that could be going on. Anytime you hear about like open relationships, or marriages were so different back then as well. Not to take anything away from the fact that Dee's younger wife, really didn't like Kelly and didn't want to have anything to do with him, and maybe this was Kelly's nasty final way to end things between them, perhaps, but I don't think so. The more I learn, the less I think that's the case. I think that is how it is for most people as well. Like, it's just very common to simplify, right? Like, you've all been in relationships and had love affairs, or affairs even, or friendships at least, or worked in communities with other human beings. Shit gets crazy, and it's very hard to ever communicate when something goes awry how complex that is. And we simplify things in our stories, and we simplify things even more in our diaries often, especially a diary that we know we're going to be showing to certain people. So that's something to keep in mind throughout studying history. Yeah, as occultology says, it's all groovy until it isn't, and then it never was. Exactly, right? Oh, there's so much subtext there. I love it. And all you lovers out there, you all know.
Grew increasingly resentful, his doubts about the angels and Dee solidifying into something darker. He began to distance himself from the sessions, his reluctance turning into outright refusal. Dee.
And here's how I know what I'm talking about. Once I was dating a girl for a couple of years, and she did convince me to try the whole open thing. So I have stories. I have stories. After that, I swore off dating for years.
Desperate to continue their work, pleaded with Kelly to remain, but the trust between them was gone. Kelly saw Dee's unwavering faith not as strength, but as delusion, a dangerous obsession that had consumed them both. By late 1587, Kelly had reached his breaking point. He declared that he could no longer serve as a scryer, that the visions had become too much for him to bear. Some accounts suggest that Kelly's departure was also fueled by his growing ambition. His reputation as an alchemist had reached the courts of Europe, and he had begun to receive offers from nobles and kings eager to unlock the secrets of transmutation. To Kelly, these offers represented a way out, a chance to escape the suffocating weight of Dee's expectations and pursue his own path. For Dee, Kelly's departure...
Michael, you bring up a good point. Did the wife, after the wife swapping, after the swapping, did not the record of the diaries end? Yeah, that's where those diaries ended. I mean, Dee left, as you know, from your friend, Dr. Burns, who introduced us through the Arcane Research Society. So yeah, but then, you know, Dee continued doing Enochian work seemingly for a very long time, working with other guys. Bartholomew Saul was that? I always forget if Saul was later, before or after. And I've been so focused on other areas of my practice this last year, unfortunately. Once I get my presentation in June done, I'll be able to refocus. I will be refocusing on Enochian work in a very major way that I can't talk about, but I'll unveil in November. And that'll be exciting. Yeah, he worked with his son a lot, and Arthur D produced an amazing text, went on to be the alchemist and physician for the Russian emperor. Like, crazy life. So, like, you know, in all of these tales of D, you never hear these guys, if they're going to fabricate narratives, they're like, why not fabricate something about like how D spent all this time apprenticing his son and teaching him magic and alchemy? And like, imagine being D's son and learning from Kelly alchemy and D all this other stuff. Like, imagine all the people swapping their wives. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
It was a devastating blow. Without his scryer, the sessions came to an end, the angelic voices falling silent. Dee attempted to continue the work on his own, but the system they had built required both of them, the scholar and the medium, the structure and the vision. Alone, Dee could not summon the angels, and the revelations that had once seemed so close now felt impossible.
Taoist magic. I'm not surprised with a name like Taoist magic. That sounds like you've been a BDSM dom for over a decade. Jealousy is a wasted emotion. Well, if you're jealous, it's probably a sign that, you know, I do think it's very disgusting when people take jealousy and make it seem like the person's not evolved. That's messed up. Yeah, if you're jealous, then you shouldn't be doing things that make you jealous. You know, if it's your wife or something. That's my take. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. They call me W11. I like that. I feel like I should write this into a poem or a song, or at least sing it in black and white. Envy is a wasted emotion. Jealousy is a proclamation. Yeah, we'll come attend EnochiaCon, or the workshop, the June workshop with the Arcane Research Society, and you'll hear me talking for 3 hours about the 7 sins, the tunnels of Set, the Klipot, and Theurgy. I'm doing it. I'm going all the way.
Distant.
I know.
The emotional toll of their collaboration lingered long after they parted ways. Dee returned to England, a man broken by loss, his faith intact but his spirit fractured. Kelly, meanwhile, pursued a career in alchemy, his promises of gold and transformation leading him to fortune and eventually imprisonment.
No, the fortune happened before Dee left. That was why Kelly might have pushed Dee out, kind of, you know, and Dee went home and found his relatives and sold most of his books, and oh god, just awful.
Their partnership, born of ambition and belief, had unraveled under the weight of its own contradictions.
Thank you.
Leaving both men to grapple with the consequences of what they had dared to create. Their work was not finished, but their paths would never cross again. What remained were the fragments of their system, a puzzle they had begun but could not complete, a divine language, an intricate framework of magical tools, and a story that blurred the line between revelation and madness. The end of their partnership marked the beginning of a slow unraveling for both men, their shared dream collapsing into personal ruin. John Dee returned to England in 1589, a man weighed down by failure and loss. His once great
Emoticon. My emotions. Oh, I need that meme. My emotions. My emotions. You know what that's from? You get a prize if you know. Emoticon. EnochiaCon.
reputation, built on decades of scholarship and service, had eroded during his years abroad. Rumors of his involvement in the occult clung to him, staining his name and overshadowing his achievements. His financial situation was dire. His time in Europe had drained his resources, and his years of neglecting his royal duties had cost him the favour of the court. Queen Elizabeth, who had once relied on his counsel, offered him a meagre appointment as the Warden of Christ's College in Manchester. It was a hollow gesture, a role far beneath his stature and devoid of the support he needed to maintain his family. Dee's final years were marked by a painful decline. His health deteriorated, his influence faded, and his intellectual pursuits became increasingly isolated. The angels he had once believed were guiding his destiny had fallen silent, leaving him to grapple with the emptiness of their absence. By the time of his death in 1609, Dee was living in obscurity, his vast library sold off to pay debts, his legacy reduced to whispers of a man who had reached too far into the unknown. Edward Kelly's trajectory after their separation was no less tragic, though it followed a different path. Kelly's reputation as an alchemist had grown during his time with Dee, and he used this to secure positions in the courts of Europe. He found favour with Emperor Rudolf II, a monarch with a deep fascination for the occult and the promise of transmutation, the alchemical process that promised to turn lead into gold. Kelly, ever the opportunist, fed the emperor's hopes, claiming to possess the secret of the philosopher's stone. For a time, Kelly enjoyed wealth and privilege, rewarded handsomely for his alchemical promises, but those promises were as elusive as the gold he claimed to create. When his experiments failed to produce results, his patrons grew impatient. Kelly's charisma, which had carried him so far, could not shield him from the growing suspicion that he was a fraud. In 1591...
So none of this is how really any of this went down. I mean, it's just this is an alternate version based on fabrication. It's really unfortunate because, again, it would be so easy. Like, the main biographies, you can easily, or some of them are old, just take all of them. Take them all, put them into a chat thing and have them pump out a script that intelligently looks at the facts. And you'd have an amazing video. One that we could actually engage with and then talk about, but this vapidness, it makes me so upset. I just get like so distressed and I don't even know what to do. It's just like overwhelming, and I just feel like,
No, Uncle Lucius, I don't want to play in the laundry room. My emotions!
I had to.
Kelly was imprisoned by Rudolf II in Hernevin Castle in Bohemia, accused of deceiving the emperor and failing to fulfill his grand claims. Kelly's attempts to escape ended in disaster. Accounts differ, but one story suggests he leapt from a castle wall, breaking his legs in the process, injuries from which he would never recover.
That's true.
He died in 1597, a prisoner of his ambitions, his body as broken as his dreams. The story of John Dee and Edward Kelly did not end with their deaths. What they created, the angelic language, the intricate system of magic, and the vision of a cosmos bound by divine order, took on a life of its own, surviving the centuries and weaving itself into the fabric of esoteric traditions. For much of the 17th and 18th centuries, Dee's writings lay dormant, scattered across collections and libraries. The system they described
mention even of the publication of his material by Merrick Casaubon to discredit Dee as a, to quote Justin Sledge, filthy Anabaptist.
Complex and arcane, seemed destined to fade into obscurity. But in the late 19th century, a new generation of occultists rediscovered Dee's spiritual diaries and the secrets they contained. Among these were members of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, a secret society devoted to the study and practice of Western esoteric.
Oh, snap. Shit got real. This video is going to talk about the Golden Dawn in the context of Dee and Kelly. All right. Oh, let's go. Let's go.
Esotericism. The Golden Dawn, founded in 1888, saw in Dee and Kelly's system a bridge between the Renaissance pursuit of divine knowledge and their own rituals of ceremonial magic.
I'm curious, Angelo, who you say and who has furthered the system, who even works it faithfully? I mean, are you actually asking? I mean, I'm a good example. Dr. Burns is a good example. Aaron, Scott Stenwick, Maria Montgomery. I mean, most of the presenters, a lot of the presenters at EnochiaCon work it faithfully, by which I mean not just in the Neo or Golden Dawn variety, but in a more traditional way. Frater, a lot of people have furthered the system by working it faithfully. But I might be misunderstanding your comment, so clarify, please.
They adopted Enochian magic as a cornerstone of their practices, refining and expanding upon it to suit their spiritual framework. To them, the angelic language was not simply a relic of the past, but a living tool, a means of connecting with higher realms and unlocking hidden truths. Aleister Crowley, one of the most infamous figures in occult history, further popularized Enochian magic in the early 20th century. Crowley, deeply influenced by...
You know, that's actually funny. The most accurate things in this video so far is the glossy way in which they talk about the introduction of Enochiana into the GD and popularization by Crowley and them. So that's actually pretty funny. See, I don't know what that means. I don't know. By which I mean your comment. I'm Golden Dawn since 1/2020. I mean, are you in the Golden Dawn? Which order are you in? Tell me which order you're in. Angelo, yes, academically, but no one talks about spiritual expertise. I'm gonna guess you're saying. No, I'm not. So when I'm talking, no, I'm not saying academically. You're saying no one furthered it. No one has furthered the system who even works it faithfully. I've furthered the system and worked it faithfully. If you're looking at Golden Dawn Enochian, the work of Olin Rush, who's a descendant of the Golden Dawn temples from America way back in the day. He's from that tradition. His work is outstanding. You can't really find it unless you're, in the system. But yeah, academically speaking, I mean, there's been advancements academically and there's been advancements in practice. My first presentation at 2024 EnochiaCon revolutionized the practice of Enochian magic in a way that hasn't been seen since the discovery of the hidden manuscripts of the Heptarchia from the false bottom chest hundreds of years ago, or the discovery of she wrote the books, Deborah Harkness, discovering the Lost D manuscript mislabeled, miscategorized under geomancy. So there you go. There's some more. So academically, there's been advances, and practically, there's been massive advances. The practical advancements have been massive. The Y14, Y15 issue on the Sigillum de Emet, that was amazing. And the list goes on and on and on of practical developments and advances from hardcore traditional Enochian magicians. That's why I do an annual conference on the topic now. That's how much stuff there is to cover. And some people actually said during the first year of EnochiaCon, like, how are you gonna keep doing this every year when there's so few people who know anything about it and so little to say about it? And I was just, I loved it. So it said that because I was tickled by. I'm like, oh baby, like I could live a long time and we'll never get close to, emptying the contents of this barrel. You're just a base Crowley. Well, good. That's cool. I don't know what that has to do with anything else, though. Frater Jester says the first book of magic I ever learned was, yeah, that's good. Yeah, all through grade 9, I had Transcendental Magic in my backpack in school, and I would read it. What else? So many good comments. I love how much you guys are commenting. It's great. Yeah, furthering understanding now. Cool. Astarte Earthwise, welcome. Good to see you. And thanks for, I think you became a channel member, didn't you? I appreciate that. That is super. Golden. What's the thing? You need full sentences. I'm sorry, man. I love you, but I don't. Oh, you're okay. But what? You know. So to say I'm Golden Dawn and Rosicrucian is redundant, which makes me wonder about what Golden Dawn group you're in or whatever. I'm not going to judge you. I'm just curious. You know, I know all of them. I'm just curious what your experience has been. Wow, I wish I have practiced magic as long as you. Why? You get to do you. Don't want to be someone else. No, like, trust me, you don't wish you had practiced magic as long as me. I think it's better to get into magic in your later years, like old age, ideally, and then you're like gonna be, by the time you get to like that really amazing achievement stage, you're ready for death. So when you're ready for death, you'll actually be about to die. That's the time to get in magic, not when you're young like me. I got to that stage when I was in my 20s, early 20s. You don't want to be ready to die in your early 20s and feel like you can't have done any more. You've done it all. Oh, I've done it all. But you're only 23. What? No. Get into magic when you're old if you can. Skip it when you're young. I'm just doing opposite day. No, I'm not. I'm being serious. Okay, we got so many questions. I believe he was saying that he sees more in the way of academic work, but doesn't hear other people talking about experiences such as Dean Kelly had. I mean, if that's the case with you, Angelo, sure. I mean, maybe that's the problem that my conferences and events and the whole society I've created right here in the banner. You can see it. Maybe that's what it's designed to gonna help fix. I mean, there's so much. There's not tons of work. Like, you can read through all of the good Enochian literature in a year, easy, 2 years maybe, and then you know everything that's written. And then you can start practicing, and then you share with other practitioners. These operations often take a lot of work, right? Like, just to build up to the 19-day self-initiation that the angels gave Dean Kelly is years of work. I don't feel, Frater Jester says, wow, I don't feel as bad now practicing at 33 and not practicing as seriously. Yeah, you're good. You're good. You don't want to like hit the pleroma and be like, I'm ready for the end, but you're like 45 years old. No. Then you'll need to be like, okay, I guess I better go out into the world and try and do something, which is what I had to do. It's like, chief adepthood at 23 in the GD, and then I had to go out into the world and just like get trounced enough so that I would have things to work on and depths to plumb. Thank you very much, Angelo. Thanks. Yeah, it's hard work. I get up every day bright and early, 7 a.m. bust ass, and this is one of my highlights, is now getting to do these streams with you guys. Because it's fun. It's still work, actually. This is, if you saw my first 2 streams, by the end of the first hour, I was fried. It's a real skill set. Respect to all those nut jobs who stream 8-9 hours a day or longer. Respect. They deserve to be millionaires. I mean, you know what I mean.
By the Golden Dawn and its teachings, integrated D and Kelly's system into his own spiritual philosophy, Thelema. He conducted Enochian rituals to invoke angels, explore the astral planes, and seek guidance from higher powers.
This is something interesting. Someone commented on my YouTube recently about Crowley and Enochian, but I think what people don't realize is Crowley didn't get into the original Enochian stuff. He really only stuck with the GD stuff, and that's why we have access to a lot of GD lessons in Enochian, in Golden Dawn Enochian, that even the Golden Dawn has lost is because we know that certain lessons existed because members wrote about them in their diaries, but we don't have those lessons anymore. They got burned. And Crowley shows what those lessons looked like through his work. So McGregor Mathers wrote about how to scry and travel the Aethyrs, which is very different from the parts of the earth methodology of working to control political rulers and kings and all that stuff. In traditional Enochian magic, the GD through Mather's lesson was like, let's travel these Aethers, right? And Crowley then took that to the nth degree, expanding the Aethers from text to lil so that they didn't just radiate out from the earth, right? The earth is the square, and imagine a circle around a square. That's the 30th Aether text, closest to the earth. And then the 30 Aethers expand out, governing different parts of the earth, all sublunar. Crowley said, well, what if Lil represents Kether or the Ensof? And then he journeyed up them to become an Ipsissimus. It's not how the Golden Dawn makes Ipsissimus, but the Golden Dawn didn't really flesh that out till the Stella Matutina. What are you saying? We could stream. Oh, I don't know how. But we could try. Same here. I was ignorant of Crowley, but personally experienced things like good. Have your experiences, write them down. Fuck around and find out sometimes a little bit, not too much, but don't not do it.
In Crowley's hands, the system evolved, becoming both a method of personal transformation and a way to challenge the boundaries of human perception. Beyond magical orders, Enochian magic left its mark on literature and culture. H.P. Lovecraft, fascinated by arcane languages and forbidden knowledge, drew inspiration from Dee's work in crafting the eldritch mythos of his stories, modern fantasy and science fiction from Neil.
So that's an interesting thing, actually, this idea of fafoing with magic. The story everyone cites with Enochian magic is Ewan Campbell, who was the Whare Ra adept in New Zealand, who was considered their Enochian expert. Because when you become an adept, you can't specialize in everything. Like some adepts specialize in Enochian, and as a result, or Solomonic magic, or anything else. I'm just pulling random examples, and then don't do much of that, and that takes away from their time to do Golden Dawn grade work. So, you can't do it all. You can't do it all, and you have to just sort of pursue what you love, and that's a sacrifice. But here's the thing about Ewan Campbell, who was their Enochian expert, and as a result didn't go quite up as high up in the grades as he could have, because it wasn't important to him, I think. He got in trouble. He messed himself up with Enochian magic, and Mrs. Falcon, Dr. Robert Falcon's wife, who was the chief of the Stella Matutina, such as it was from the 30s up until 1979 when it closed down. And she helped Ewan Campbell fix himself. And he wrote an article in the Occult Review that's quite famous. And it's often been taken that, oh, this is what happens when you mess with a little bit of Enochian magic. But that's not the case. He got messed up because he was an extremely masterful, high-level adept and capable of working with the kinds and drawing in the kinds of forces that could cause you to go a bit awry. But the idea that people are just going to like read some calls out of a book and then spirits are going to mess them up. No. I mean, maybe if you recite the calls haphazardly every night before you go to bed and just be like, let's see what happens. Maybe that will fuck you up. More than likely, though, the spirits are going to be like, they won't even hear you. They just see like your dirt messing in dirt. You can't discern dirt from dirt because you have to purify yourself. You have to consecrate and prepare yourself to even begin to draw these creatures' attention. These are spiritual creatures, and they don't share their time with people who are just, profanely fucking around to see what they find out. Those people in magic, if you fafo in magic, what you find out usually is nothing at all. Nothing at all. What's off topic? I don't know what you're saying is off topic. Yeah, it's hard to do it all, but you can do a lot. Just begin your journey. Perfect. The best times to do occult stuff, they say, is in youth and old age. Not that 54 is old age, dear God. That's like, I'll be 54 tomorrow. Well, in 9 years, but feels like tomorrow. I know it'll feel like tomorrow. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah, later in life or early in life. And, yeah. Based. Thank you, Taoist Magic. But did you just finish the new Golden Dawn book? You're asking if I just finished that new Golden Dawn book? What Golden Dawn book? I have it PDF, not going to buy it until I read it and like it. Which one? What do you mean that new Golden? Oh. This one, that's not about the Golden Dawn. This book's not about the Golden Dawn. This book is about the literature that some members, that 5 or 6 of the members produced and how it impacted culture. When you you find madness, sure. Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, that's the issue with that book.
Neil Gaiman to television series like Supernatural have echoed the themes of divine communication and celestial languages. Their narratives.
I got to consult on Supernatural. I should show you. You want to see pictures of me getting hammered with Misha Collins? Castiel. I also spent too much time. Anyway, I can't. I can't.
Shaped by the echoes of Dee and Kelly's legacy. In modern times, Enochian magic continues to captivate practitioners and scholars alike. For magicians, it offers a structured yet otherworldly system of communication with higher realms.
I have to run quickly to the restroom so you get to enjoy these messages. What should I show you? Yeah, well, there's only one thing to show you. Attend my events this year. Join the Arcane Research Society.
The Arcane Research Society returns to bring esoteric scholarship and practice in 2026 with 2 major events held in Austin, Texas. Register for an annual membership and attend online or in person all of our annual events, including June 13th, our spring workshop, and November 6th through 8th, EnochiaCon, our full esotericism conference. The ARS Spring Workshop features 3 workshops led by Jason Louv, Craig Williams, and Frater RC. Spend a whole day in downtown Austin, Texas, enjoying these hands-on deep dives with experts in their fields. Register today for all live events included with ARS annual membership, Spring Workshop, and EnochiaCon, which features too many amazing presenters to name. Sign up today at arcaneresearchsociety.com.
Sorry about that. Back in action.
Rituals steeped in a sense of mystery and power. Its language, with its unique alphabet and syntax, remains an object of fascination, studied both for its mystical properties and its linguistic complexity. For scholars, Dee's writings provide a window into the Renaissance mind, a blend of science, religion, and esotericism that reflects humanity's enduring quest to understand its place in the cosmos. The cultural fascination with Enochian magic lies not just in its perceived power, but in what it represents. The audacity to seek the divine, the courage to step beyond the limits of earthly knowledge, and the willingness to confront the unknown. It is a reminder that, even in the face of failure and doubt, the pursuit of the infinite leaves a legacy that resonates far beyond its time. Through the centuries, the angelic magic system has persisted, a testament to the enduring allure of the unknown.
Not only that, evidence quite clearly shows there was a unbroken line of practitioners practicing this from Dee to his son, Cotton, Ashmole, you name it. I mean, there's manuscripts that demonstrate this.
It lives on in the rituals of practicing magicians, in the pages of history and fiction, and in the imaginations of those who dare to wonder what secrets might still lie hidden beyond the veil. The angelic magic system that John Dee and Edward Kelly brought into the world remains a puzzle, its true nature unresolved. At its core is the Enochian language, a strikingly unique construct that continues to baffle linguists, occultists, and scholars alike. Was this language...
It doesn't really baffle us. I think we have a pretty solid, thorough understanding of it. I mean, we're still looking for mysteries all the time, but, you know, it's not like, yeah.
Truly a divine gift, as Dee believed, or the product of human ingenuity, perhaps even a subconscious creation born of Kelly's vivid imagination. The Enochian language has a formal structure that sets it apart from other so-called...
So I've talked to like Cliff Waketill on my podcast. He's now known as Michael, and he's gone over the math in some of this stuff. And like, there's so many points of data that indicate this couldn't be fabricated by a person's mind in any way intentionally. So that's worth noting.
Constructed or invented languages. Its alphabet of 21 letters, grammatical rules, and phonetic coherence.
It is considered glossolalia, though. It is technically glossolalia.
Suggest a complexity that has drawn comparisons to natural languages. Yet no historical parallels exist for its origins, leaving the question, could Kelly have invented such a system himself?
No, he transmitted it, so it went through his consciousness and got tinctured by it. And that's why the letters look like mostly English letters. But that's what magical languages are. They're, you know, barbarous names of evocation, which are often older god names that have been changed or warped or what's the word for it? Altered intentionally to produce other names. Like think of the De Verbo Mirifico, the wonder-working word of Christian Hermetism, the Yod He Shin Vav He, Yeshua.
Supporters of this theory argue that Kelly, as a well-read man with a talent for storytelling, might have fabricated the language.
I mean, the words are assigned meanings, but I think it's technically glossolalia, according to the rules of modern linguistics. Yeah, and Laycock is a linguist, and he assessed it, and so I think that's the case. Because I can't remember what the linguistic reason is. That's a good thing that worth updating on. Maybe someone will talk about it this year at EnochiaCon and get into that, because we got Robert Podgorski this year. Robert Podgorski is like fucking heavyweight guy. And after I accepted him to the conference and we were talking, he wrote this amazing book, and his new book is coming out not this year, unfortunately, but early next year, where I have a couple copies of his book around. Is that one of them? No, that's Ian Gladwin. Here's another good book. Yeah, there's a good book. Even better book. Dr. Terry Burns' version of the Monas Hieroglyphica, the Ultimate Edition. Go get yours now from Ouroboros Press and do her 50-hour course free on YouTube. But Robert Podgorski's book, where is it? It's really good. And his new one is called Enochian Sigil Magic. He wanted to call it something more sexy, but the publisher insisted. So like, I don't know how much I can say about that, but yeah, Robert Podgers, he's gonna be interesting. And after I accepted him and he was coming to the conference, we got on Zoom and he's like, he realized that he'd already met me at PantheaCon 2020. We'd been like drinking the first night and partying a bit. And he's like, "It's you." I'm like, "It's you." Anyway, it's really funny.
To maintain Dee's trust and secure his place in their partnership. But this explanation falters in the face of the language's intricacy, which some believe surpasses what could be improvised during live scrying sessions. For psychology,
so Bruno had a good memory. I mean, could he have done what? Could he have created? No, I don't think. No one could have created the Enochian system, could have fabricated it because of the way it was received. It's not possible. But they all had better memories than us. They all had memories that make us seem like, morons today. If it is occultology, says, made up, don't tell the spirits that they seem to react well to it. Well, it's not made up. It's transmitted from spirits to humans, and in a very strange way. So that would be hard to fabricate. Ouroboros Press is very cool. Yeah, it's fun. Sad they can't send their books to us to sell in Canada, and ironically, their books are printed here, sent to the States, but they can't sell them in Canada. Don't tell the evangelicals the angels communicate through glossolalia. Speaking in tongues definitely is glossolalia. Enochian is, I think, counts as just a magical language. I think that's what it counts as. Pope Paul says, paper was expensive back then. Yeah, people had to have exceptional memories. Yeah, paper, parchment, and most people couldn't read and write, so you remembered stuff. Member?
The Enochian revelations open another door of inquiry. Kelly's visions and Dee's unyielding faith in their authenticity have been interpreted through the lens of altered states of consciousness. Kelly's descriptions of radiant beings and otherworldly realms mirror the kinds of experiences reported by individuals in trance states under the influence of certain substances or during intense meditation. Some modern scholars speculate that Kelly may have induced a form of self-hypnosis or entered a state akin to modern notions of flow, allowing his subconscious mind to generate the angelic language and imagery. Others turn to the cultural and spiritual context of Dee and Kelly's time for answers. The late 16th century was an era steeped in religious upheaval, scientific discovery, and esoteric exploration. Dee, caught between the worlds of science and mysticism, was a man whose intellect was matched only by his unrelenting desire to connect with the divine. His belief that the Enochian language represented the original tongue of creation reflects a Renaissance mindset in which the sacred and the empirical.
What Dee said was he wanted to create the sacred language for Christians because Jews had Hebrew, Muslims had Arabic, and he wanted a sacred Christian language. That's what he wanted to create, and he did. It just didn't catch on.
Miracle often overlapped. For Dee, science and spirituality were not opposites, but complementary paths to understanding the universe. In modern practice, the Enochian system has taken on a life far removed from its origins. Practicing magicians use the language and rituals to invoke angelic beings, explore astral planes, and seek personal transformation. Some describe their experiences with Enochian magic as profoundly spiritual, a means of accessing parts of the psyche or higher consciousness that are otherwise unreachable. Others see it as a tool for connecting with archetypal entities.
Well, he didn't want to create a Kabbalah for Christians because Christian Kabbalah already existed. That was already done. That task was already done by Giovanni Pico, Johann Reuchlin, and of course Bruno was a part of that, and the great Lodovico Lazzarelli, the first Christian hermetist. They all had succeeded together in creating Christian hermetism, which incorporated Kabbalah. So Dee was an inheritor of that more than a creator of it, is all I'm saying. He inherited this tradition from the guys who had gone before him in the 1400s. So that was already established, and he was just an investigator of it, really, and trying to further it.
Energies, interpreting the angels not as literal beings, but as symbols of universal forces. The system's appeal to contemporary practitioners lies in its duality. On one hand, it is a structured, almost scientific approach to magic, with its grids, symbols, and linguistic rules. On the other, it is deeply mystical, offering a direct line to the divine, or the illusion of one. This tension between structure and mystery mirrors the relationship between Dee and Kelly, a partnership that fused scholarly rigor with intuitive chaos. Modern scholars and practitioners alike debate the legacy of Dee and Kelly's work. Was it a divine transmission, an elaborate deception, or something in between? Interviews with contemporary occultists reveal a spectrum of belief. Some embrace the Enochian system as a spiritual truth, while others view it as a psychological tool, a framework for accessing the subconscious and engaging with the mind's hidden depths. Yet all seem to agree on one point. The system's power lies in its ability to provoke awe and wonder, its origins as compelling as its application. For skeptics, the enduring fascination with Enochian magic is a testament not to its truth, but to the human capacity for invention. For believers, it is proof that the divine speaks to those who dare to listen. Whether viewed through the lens of faith or doubt, one fact remains. The questions Dee and Kelly raised about the nature of language, the structure of the universe, and humanity's place within it have lost none of their resonance. The Enochian system, born of desperation and belief, continues to captivate those who seek to bridge the gap between the earthly and the divine. The story of John Dee and Edward Kelly is not one of resolution, but of questions. Questions that echo through the centuries, unanswered and alive. Their work, whether divine revelation or human invention, stands as a testament to humanity's relentless pursuit of the unknown. It reminds us that the line between genius and madness, faith and delusion, is often as thin and fragile as the veil they sought to pierce. Dee and Kelly's angelic magic system endures not because it provides answers, but because it embodies the mystery itself. It is a language no one truly understands, a map to a cosmos that defies comprehension. For all its intricacy, its greatest power lies in its invitation. To imagine, to believe, to reach beyond the ordinary. It asks the same questions that drove Dee to his crystal and Kelly to his visions, questions that resonate deeply with anyone who has ever looked at the stars and wondered what lies beyond. Their partnership was imperfect, their journey fraught with tension and doubt, yet together they created something that transcends their flaws. It is this duality that gives their story its weight, the brilliance of their ambition balanced against the frailty of their humanity. Dee's meticulous documentation and unshakable faith collided with Kelly's improvisation and uncertainty, creating a system that reflects the contradictions of its creators. And yet...
I mean, they're just spinning their wheels at this point, right? Just throwing everything at the wall and vague, ambiguous statements, platitudes, generalizations, most of which are false. And that we have false, by which I mean we have detailed information on a lot of the stuff that this is just glossing over. And yeah, I mean, well, this is the definition of AI slop, unfortunately. I really hoped that this would be a script that someone had at least used real books to create. And then there'd be some interesting points of view from the different authors contributing to it. But they did their own research, I guess, or I don't know how they did it, but it's a subpar for sure. That's putting it nicely.
Even as their lives ended in ruin, their legacy grew. The language they called Angelic continues to inspire, not because it explains the divine, but because it offers a glimpse of it. Their story endures not as a cautionary tale, but as a celebration of humanity's boundless curiosity. The same force that drives explorers to new worlds, scientists to new discoveries, and seekers to the edges of what is known.
You think Dee was the reincarnation of Roger Bacon, huh? Okay. UPG. Don't get me started on UPG. UPG. Slopomancy. I don't know why people like the term UPG so much. G is already... Anyway, I won't get started. Don't worry.
Dee and Kelly's greatest contribution may not be the Enochian language or the magical system they built, but the enduring allure of their quest itself. Their work whispers to us across...
This is what I'll say. The term UPG only can exist if you don't understand what the G stands for.
...time, reminding us that to seek is to dream, and that the greatest mysteries are those that remain unsolved. For in mystery lies possibility, and in possibility, the infinite.
Brian Cunningham, written by Brian Cunningham. I don't believe for a second a human being wrote that. I don't believe you edited. No, I don't believe it. Mid-Journey and Runaway. Okay, so it's, yeah. Voiceover by 11 Labs. You didn't. Music by Suno. Even worse. Oh, Suno should be illegal. Yes, I have different standards for visual art as for music production when it comes to AI, because I'm a musician. The views expressed in this program do not necessarily... Wait, what's it say? Let's check that out. The views expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect the views... No, the views expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect any facts found in human existence, but were solely invented to create a viral video that spreads disinformation and vapid brain rot. Slopomacy. Slopomachy. It would be Slopomachy. Slopomachy. Because it was slop war. Machy is in war. Slopomachy. Slopomachy. I just coined it. There you go. Slopomachy. Slopomachy. All right. Well, that's the video. What did you guys think? What do we have? Okay, here's someone. Wasteland Aspirant. D was a cryptographer and a mathematician, so the angels communicated with him such. Through cryptography and mathematics, you think? Do you think if someone were able to do the beginning workings would get something more personal to the practitioner? I don't, again, your sentences aren't grammatical enough for me to understand what you're saying. You're leaving out some key words to make these sentences have meaning, but I can try and decipher it. D was a cryptographer and mathematician, so the angels communicated through cryptography and mathematics. But the angels never communicated to him at all through cryptography nor mathematics at all, ever. There's no gematria. There's none of that. Like, that's not true. Do you think if someone were to do his beginning workings? Yeah, that's what we do. I have a whole course on it. Go to EnochiaCon.com. You can work from the beginning of the system and have amazing life-changing experiences. Go through the whole 19-day initiation process after a few years of doing the basics of the system. And then we get tremendous results from it. That's why we do this. That's why we have conferences. That's why we teach classes. It's why we get together and spend tens of thousands of dollars building tools, doing workings, and bringing benefits to our lives and to our loved ones and to the world through the Aethyrs, through the political magic system they created. Like the Aethyrs, Crowley's Scrying the Aethyrs isn't D and Kelly magic. That's GD Enochian, right? The D and Kelly magic was changing the future and fate of the world through affecting the spirits of the heirs, the parts of the earth. Pope Paul says, I just use it for common parlance. It's my unverified. Yeah, so, oh, I know how you're using it. I get. I mean, I just think people should say intuition instead of unverified personal gnosis because, yeah, makes more sense. Creating a whole 3-word term for the word intuition. Why? It's like, Chameleon, good to see you. Have you ever watched Irrelevato's channel? No. You maybe, I mean, I'll check it out. Remind me, send me a note. Send me a note. Cool. Well, that we did it. We did it. Should we do something else? Should we FAFO? Shall we hear about recent updates in Solomonic magic? You want to know about the recent updates in Solomonic magic?
Solomonic magic is not a thing. That's the whole point of the titles. I wanted to mislead the readers to think about Solomonic magic as a thing, but it's not a thing. And
I can't help it. I can't help myself. I just need to have fun. Okay, good